but on the condition that if he felt the greatness of the Creator, he would understand that it is worthwhile to work for him. It is as we see in corporeality. If a great person comes and many people determine that he is great, and common sense agrees with those who say that he is great, then just as in corporality a person can work and serve the Great One, clearly if he could feel this greatness about the Creator, he would also be able to work and serve the Creator. Yet we do not have this feeling with regard to the Creator. Rather, as we see, divinity is in exile and there is no sensation whatsoever of the greatness of the Creator. Thus, how can he enroll his self-benefit before the benefit of the Creator? As when those two me and mar or who and what respectively connect it create the combination mim water in Hebrew. This is the meaning of the words a flood of water on the earth by which they died. That is all spirituality, which is called life was lost due to these waters, which are the two questions who and what. The spirit of life of holiness departed from them, and they remain dead, as it is written, quote, the wicked in their lives are called dead, end quote, and this is called the waters of the flood in their work. Because of these waters they died in the work, and could not continue the work of the Creator due to the arguments of who and what. And this is the meaning of what is written in the Zohar, quote, said he saw the angel of death coming with the flood water, and therefore went into the ark, end quote. This means that the saboteur, who is the angel of death, is within the arguments of who and what. The salvation of the ark from the flood in the work means that there is the matter of above reason, and this is regarded as wanting to walk with his eyes shut, meaning that although reason and the senses do not understand what our sages tell us, they assume upon themselves faith in the sages, and say that we must take upon ourselves faith in the sages, as it is written, quote, and they believed in the Lord and his servant Moses, end quote, and without faith nothing can be achieved in spirituality, and this discernment is called, which is covered, and is called desiring mercy, and this means that he does not want to understand anything, and says about everything that it is certainly God's grace that he does with him, and although he does not see the grace that the Creator does with him and with the entire world, he still believes that the Creator leads his world with the private providence of benevolence, as it is written, quote, and all believe that he is good to all, the good, who does good to the bad, and to the good, end quote. And this is covered, meaning that although he does not see that it is grace or mercy, he still believes above reason, and says they have eyes and see not, and this is called an ark. For one who enters covered, and accepts everything above reason, in that place there is no control to the SRA, the other side. This is so because all the questions that the asks can control only within reason, but above reason, that territory belongs to holiness, for all the questions are only according to the external mind. Conversely, the internal mind comes after a person has been rewarded with equivalence of form. At that time, he understands within the internal mind and sees that everything that the external mind thought that it was right. Once he is rewarded with the internal mind, he sees that everything that the external mind argues is untrue. As Balasulam wrote in an essay in Tafim, 1940 to 1943, accordingly, quote, the saboteur being inside the floodwaters and puts a person to death, end quote. This means that within the water, which is the who and what meaning, with these arguments, it kills people. This is the meaning of the Zohar, quote. Sosi said he saw the angel of death coming with the flood water and therefore went into the ark, end quote. In other words, he saw that with these arguments he would lose his spirit of life. At that time he went into the quality of above reason, which is desiring mercy, meaning that he wants only to bestow and not receive a thing. Instead, he is happy with his share and regards whatever understanding and feeling about the work of the Creator that he has as a great reward. He's also happy about all the arguments he heard from the who and what, because now he can go above reason. By this he is saved from the flood of water. According to the above we can interpret the Zohar, quote, a person should certainly hide himself so as not to be seen by the Sabbath or when he is in the world, so he will not look at him for he has permission to destroy all those seen by him. This is why the Creator sought to cover Noah and hide him from sight. And Noah came to hide from the eye from the water of the flood, for the water pressed him into the ark. He saw the water of the flood and feared it. Hence, he came to the ark. We should understand how it can be said about a sabotaging angel that if Noah enters the ark, the angel cannot see him because he is in the ark. How can we understand this? If the Creator advised Noah to enter the ark so the sabotaging angel would not see him clearly when he saw the ark, what would he think that this is an empty ark without people? Even if the saboteur were corporeal, he would certainly want to see what is in the ark, all the more so with an angel. Does he not see what is in the ark? Is this possible? In the work, we should interpret that the sabotaging angel sees those people who walk within reason with them. He can argue with arguments of who and what. However, when the Creator told him to go into Bener, which is called the covered world, meaning it is covered from external ones. Who are those who go with the external mind? The saboteur can see them because they have a common language, meaning externality. But those who go above reason, who do everything because of faith in the Creator and through faith in the sages, who give them guidance on how to go and achieve attention with the Creator and be rewarded with the internal mind, called the mind of the Torah. In that place it is regarded that the sabotaging angel has no means to see, because his vision is in the vessels of reception. For this reason our sages said, quote, once the saboteur is given permission, it does not distinguish between good and bad, end quote. We interpreted that this means that when the saboteur is given permission, even people who engage in reception in order to bestow, who are considered good, since they engage in reception, there can be slander by them, hence they too enter Bina, which is vessels of bestow, where the sitcher has no grip. This is regarded as the sabotaging angel. I give, my holy, I, us, give, I, if, with us. Hallelujah. We bless the entire world, cleat all the dear friends. We are Macton, and alongside Peter, we made some very special preparations for you. We're coming closer to connection, our goal. We advance together by connecting, we get closer to the goal, and we would like that everyone, silently in your hearts, turn to the Creator and connect with the friends. And every workshop that we will have now will be a silent workshop, because only our hearts aim us through the friends to the Creator. That helps us connect together, be done with all the distractions and noise of corporality, and simply advance towards connection with the Creator. So, let's take another step together, because our Congress connects all of us in one desire, one heart, and let's feel the Congress throughout this preparation and this lesson. Excerpt number 1, beyond letter 49. I order you to begin to love one another as yourselves with all your might, to ache with your friends' pains, and rejoice in your friends' joys as much as possible. And I hope that you will keep these words of mine and execute this matter to the fullest. Let's read again. I order you to begin to love one another as yourselves with all your might, to ache with your friends' pains, and rejoice in your friends' joys as much as possible. And I hope you will keep these words of mine and execute this matter to the fullest. Silent workshop. Let's make an inner effort to feel love for the friends in our hearts. Let's make an inner effort to feel love for the friends in our hearts. Friends, we have a special, unique opportunity in 4 days to assemble together. And this opportunity is an opportunity to feel the unity between us, all of us, the unity of our hearts. And this is the first time we're doing such a thing. Gathering in this way where each 10, all over the globe, the whole world's Tli assembles together, and this new state we're in is an opportunity to feel that we are all a family, one whole. We are that one whole, and each day from year to year, we've been coming to the lessons, learning how to be together, how to be united, how to be connected. We kept asking of questions, reading the texts on how to learn to be together, to be one whole, and from year to year, from day to day, we've come to that. We've come to that unique opportunity where we are one family, and in a few days, that family assembles, gathers as a family. it will continue advancing in that direction in order to bring this descending, declining world, that enormous love of ours that we feel for the Creator. Let's embrace everyone and continue advancing towards that connection in the Congress, and of course, we'll succeed in everything. I embrace you. Let's read what Kabish writes in letter 8. At the end of the day, this is a group of people who have gathered to be together in one place under one leader. With superhuman courage, they face up to all those who rise against them. Indeed, they are brave men with a strong spirit, and they are determined not to retreat 1 inch. They are first-class warriors fighting the war against the inclination to their last drop of blood, and their only wish is to win the battle for the glory of His name. Silent workshop. Let's feel that we are entering into an attack towards the lesson together. Let's together feel that we are entering an attack towards the lesson. Dear friends, in the first part of the lesson we learn a lesson with IV from May 31st, 2002, based on the article What Does It Mean? That one should bear a son and a daughter in the work. You can find the article in the writings of Rabash 2. We read it together in the 10 we have. 33 minutes please. What does it mean that one should bear a son and a daughter in the work? It is written in the Zohar, this is why He created them male and female, so he would be whole such as above. And a son and a daughter came out of him, and his wife, and then he is a whole man, such as above, and completes below like the upper holy name. This is because why are above and Romans 6 are son and daughter. At that time, he was called by the name of the upper holy name. A man who does not wish to complete the holy name below, meaning to bear a son and a daughter, it would be better for him that he were not born, for he has no part at all in the holy name, and we should understand what it implies to us in the world that if he does not have a son and a daughter, it's better for him not to be born. It is known that we should discern 2 things in the world. 1, the purpose of creation, which is to do good to His creations, meaning for the creatures to receive the light and pleasure. This is why He created in the creatures in nature where they have a desire and yearning to receive delight and pleasure. And if the creatures receive from Him delight and pleasure, this brings contentment to the Creator that they are doing His will and are enjoying Him, to the correction of creation, in order for creatures not to feel shame in receiving the pleasures. The creatures must receive the pleasures only in order to delight the Creator and not for their own sake. This means that the reason they want to enjoy life is that the Creator wants it, while for themselves they would relinquish the pleasure since they want to adhere to the Creator, which is called equivalence of form. Therefore, we discern 2 kinds of vessels within us. 1, vessels of bestow, and the light that is drawn into them is called light Adam. This light is called male light, since the vessel in which the light addresses is a vessel of bestow, and a male is called bestowing, and the light address that dresses in vessels of reception is called the light, or the light of life, and the vessel to receive the light of is called female, meaning receiver. This means that since this light is called the light of the purpose of creation, which is to do good to His creations, meaning that the Creator is the giver, and the law wants to receive. So, the vessel of reception is called female, which receives from the Creator, and the Creator is the giver. It is the opposite in vessels of bestow. The lower one bestows upon the upper one. This is why the lower one is called male, since he bestows, and the upper one receives. As our sages said, Israel provide for their Father in heaven. It therefore follows that the order of the world is that since man was created with a nature of a desire to receive for his own sake, the beginning of man's work is to try to come to a state where everything he does is for the sake of the Creator, and here one begins to do all that he can, meaning he observes Torah and commandments in order to thereby achieve recognition of evil, meaning that he wants reward for the Torah commandment that he is observing, and the reward is that he will have recognition of evil, meaning he will know and feel that the will to receive for oneself is bad and harmful to his life, that because of it cannot be rewarded with spiritual life. This is his reward, which is called recognition of evil, that now he knows that the will to receive for himself is the harm doer and his angel of death. Hence, if the person says that he still does not feel that the will to receive is the angel of death, he should know that this stems from the fact that he needs more light so as to see the truth. Since in the dark we cannot see, the light is called Torah, as it is written, quote, and the Torah is light, and quote. Hence, he should exert in the Torah with the aim to receive light from the Torah so as to show him the truth of who is his enemy and angel of death who denies him real life, which is spiritual life. Therefore, when one comes to a state called days of no desire, meaning that he has no energy to do anything, neither in thought nor in speech or in action, the reason is that the Creator created man in order to do as it is written, quote, which God has created to do, end quote. Thus when one sees that he is not advancing in the work, he loses the tools for work, meaning that he has no motivation. At that time the question is, what should one do when he is in such a state? The answer is that at that time one should believe above reason that this state too, when he has no desire awakened within him and which can be filled, that now he wants to accept the situation he is in. This came from the Creator and was sent to him deliberately, and the reason is as the advantage of flight from within the darkness. In other words, when a person sees that he is in a decline, afterwards when he is rewarded with emerging from that state, he will know how to appreciate the importance of the state of ascent. At that time he will be able to discern between light and darkness and will be able to thank the Creator for bringing him closer to spirituality. And then, when he appreciates the importance of the matter, he will have the power to extend the light of Torah. Since then, quote, the blessed clings to the blessed, end quote, to the extent that one appreciates one's wholeness, how blessed he is with his lot, that the Creator has brought him closer. To that extent he can extend the blessing as it is written, that quote, the blessed clings to the blessed, end quote. Therefore if one has no darkness he cannot appreciate the light. Hence, one is not as delighted over being able to receive closeness to the Creator as he would be if he knew how to appreciate the state of ascent. Therefore, they are proportional to the extent that he thanks and praises the Creator for bringing him closer to him, and the person feels blessed by the Creator. To that same extent, he can extend the abundance from above. It follows that it seems as though the amount of abundance that one can draw is proportional to the level that one is in, a state of that what is that one is in a state of blessed. When a person prevails and asks for help from the Creator after he has decided that he has a harm in his heart called the will to receive, and that he cannot emerge from it, meaning after going through several ascents and descents he finally sees that he has remained bare and destitute. At that time his prayer is from the bottom of the heart. That is, he sees that if the Creator does not help him he cannot overcome it, and although one can say that he believes above reason that only the Creator helps him, within reason he does not feel this, since he knows that he himself made the effort and the labour to obtain something in spirituality. But when one sees that after all the exertions he cannot emerge from the governance of the will to receive for himself, then he sees within reason that only the Creator can help him. It follows that what our sages said, quote, man's inclination overcomes him every day, and were it not for the help of the Creator, he would not be able to overcome it, end quote. He does not need to believe in this above reason the way ordinary workers of the Creator who observe the Torah and commandments believe above reason that this is so, that the Creator helps them. Rather, those people who want to work in order to bestow for them, it is within reason to the point that they must believe above reason that the Creator can help them emerge from the governance of the will to receive. This is as it is written in the Zohar about the spies who said that the landlord cannot save his own vessels. Balaam said about this that it means that the spies who slandered the land of Israel refer to land it, which is Mut. The spies said that the Creator too cannot help save his own vessels, meaning the vessels of holiness, meaning vessels of bestow. Follows that everyone knew that it was not within men's power to emerge from the control of self-reception, but that we must believe that the Creator can help. At that time a person falls into doubt whether it is true that the Creator can help in this sense. He says that he has already asked the Creator several times to help him and give him the desire to bestow and award him love of the Creator. But he received no answer to his prayers at that time. It is difficult for him to believe that the Creator will help him, but after all the efforts he has done, without escaping the campaign, he is rewarded with obtaining the desire to bestow, and then he sees within reason that were it not for the help of the Creator he would not be able to overcome it. It follows that now that the Creator has helped him and granted his prayers, when he asked the Creator to help him, it is as said he will open our hearts with his law Torah, and will place in our hearts the fear of him, and the love of him to do his will and to serve him wholeheartedly. How he praises the Creator for granting his prayers, and how he values the blessing he has received from the Creator. Now a person is truly called blessed, and accordingly we say the blessed clings to the blessed, and then he can receive a great illumination, because his quality of blessed is great. However, once a person has been rewarded with vessels of bestow, he's considered to have borne a son, meaning a male. That is, he has obtained vessels of bestow, which is considered that he has been rewarded with the correction of creation, which is meaning to serve the Creator with vessels of bestow which extend from above from Zin, from which they are extended, for Ain is called male who bestows. It follows that the preparation is called father, for the preparation for something is called the reason, and the result is called offshoot. This is considered that the person bore a male child, that he has now taken upon himself the desire to bestow, which is the correction of creation by which he will be able to receive the delight and pleasure. It follows that once he has a son called correction of creation, comes the time when one needs to try to obtain the purpose of creation, which is his desire to do good to his creations. This is considered that the abundance comes from above downward, meaning that the lower one is the receiver. This is considered that now the quality of a daughter was born, who receives the light of the purpose of creation. This is a female who receives from the giver, and this is called the last hay of the name. In other words, now that he has a son and a daughter, which imply the Roman 6 of the name, since the name of Ire are the letters Y, where Yod is the first hay is Beaner, from which the quality of is extended, called, which receives, 2 is extended from the Yod, for she receives, called daughter. Hence when one is rewarded with bearing the qualities of son and daughter through his work, that person is considered to have completed the holy name. If he did not bear a son and a daughter through his work, it means that he has not completed the holy name. This is why the Zohar says it would be better for him if he were not born, since man is born in the world in order to perform corrections and complete the holy name, as our sages said about the verse, quote, "The Lord has sworn, the Lord will have war against Amalek," end quote. And they said, quote, "The Creator has sworn that his name is not complete, and his throne is not complete until he blots out the name of Amalek," end quote. We should interpret that the name Yud, called, should illuminate for the Vav. This comes through man's work, who bears a son and a daughter, meaning a male, which are the vessels of bestow in which the light of shines, and also to extend to Malut, called daughter, which are vessels of reception in which the light of illuminates. At that time, through one's work, one completes the holy name called Yud, and this comes by blotting out, meaning by engaging in Torah and commandments in order to complete the holy name, and then he will reveal the wholeness, called He is one, and his name one. It follows that one who did not complete the holy name, who did not bear a son and a daughter, meaning did not correct the vessels of bestow in which the light of shines, which is considered a male, and even if he did bear a son called a male, but has not yet completed his work of bearing a female too, meaning vessels of reception, which will enter holiness in which the light of shines, called female, which is the light that shines from above downward to the creatures. For the receivers of the abundance are called female. We are told that he still did not complete his work. Hence, it is better for him if he were not born, because he has no part at all in the holy name. This is as was said above, that he did not draw the Vav. For drawing the lights into the Vav depends on the actions of the lower ones. This is the meaning of, quote, which God has created to do, end quote, that the lower ones must draw through their good deeds. This is as the rights that all the works of the lower ones, whether good deeds or bad deeds, God forbid, concern only the vave which are called, and according to the above, we should interpret what is written, quote, this month is to you, end quote. We should interpret in the work that there is nothing new under the sun, end quote. Thus, what is the meaning of renewal of which it is written, quote, this month is to you, end quote? The answer is to you, since all the novelties and changes are specifically to you, meaning for you. In other words, with regards to the Creator, it is written, quote, I, the Lord, do not change, end quote. This means that with regards to the Creator, there are no changes. Rather, all the many degrees and changes are only from the perspective of the receivers. But why are there changes with respect to the receivers? After all, there are no changes in spirituality. The answer is that since it is impossible to receive any light, but only according to the size of the clothing affects changes in the light, so that according to the value of the clothing, so is the attainment in the light. And what is the clothing in which the light dresses? That clothing is reflected light. This means that since there was a correction, where in order to avoid shame while receiving the light and pleasure, there was a restriction and concealment, so we cannot see the light, but only to the extent that one can receive in order to bestow. In other words, to the extent that one can aim to bestow the light is revealed to him. It follows that the vessel that can receive light is essentially the extent to which he can bestow upon the Creator, and does not do anything unless for the sake of the Creator. And since the matter of working in order to bestow is against nature, this work is very slow. And to the extent that he overcomes that, he prevails in order to work in order to bestow, to that extent he dresses and attains the light. Naturally, many degrees are made according to the value of the work of the receivers, though from the perspective of the giver, there are no changes. This is the meaning of the words this month is to you, meaning all the changes are for you, meaning it is you work for you for the lower ones, and the main work is that we need additional overcoming, which is faith above reason, meaning that any renewal in the work comes from faith above reason. Conversely, those who work with faith above reason have no renewals. This is the meaning of the words there is nothing new under the sun, meaning specifically under the sun there are no renewals, but above the sun there are renewals. Now we should understand the meaning of sun in the work. The sun shines during the day. A day means, as it is written, the murderer arises at dawn. He kills the poor and the indigent. Does that mean that light is day? The meaning is that if the matter is as fear is day to you, this is called sun, meaning knowing. Conversely, night means doubt. It follows that there is nothing new under the sun, means that if the sun, which is knowledge, is of superior importance, meaning that one's reason is the cause of the actions, in that respect there is no renewal in the work for the work does not object to reason. There are no renewals there. But if a person wants to work above the sun, meaning above reason, then he has renewals in the work, since each time the wicked comes to him and asks Pharaoh's question, and the wicked question, which are called who and what, and a person should answer, then this work belongs to you. Out of these questions and answers, novelties always emerge. As it is written, there is nothing new under the sun, but above the sun, meaning above reason, there are novelties. The work above reason should be unconditional surrender. That is, one should take upon himself the burden of the kingdom of heaven above reason. A person should say, I want to be a servant of the Creator even though I have no idea about the work, and I feel no flavour in the work. Nevertheless, I'm willing to work with all my might, and as though I have attainment and feeling and flavour in the work, and I'm willing to work unconditionally. At that time a person can go forward, and then there's no place for him to fail from his state, since he takes upon himself to work, even when he's placed right in the earth, since it is impossible to be lower than the earth. This is as it is written, quote, a generation goes and a generation comes, and the earth forever stands, end quote. We should interpret that in the work a generation goes and a generation comes, means ascends and descends. The fact that one yearns for knowledge, meaning that he does not want to work above reason, but specifically within reason, meaning that he says that if the body understands the benefits of working and observing the commandments of the king, then he is willing to labor and work. But to believe above reason, to this the body does not agree, and instead he stands and waits for the body to understand it. But otherwise he cannot do the holy work, and sometimes he does overcome these thoughts and desires, and this causes him the ascents and descents. Yet if one decides that he wants to work in a state of dust, meaning even if he tastes the taste of dust in the work, he says that it is very important for him to be able to do something for the sake of the Creator and for himself. He does not care which taste he feels, and he says that this work in which one tastes the taste of dust, meaning that the body mocks this work. He says to the body that in his view this work is regarded as raising the divinity from the dust. In other words, although the body tastes dust in this work, the person says that it is holiness and does not measure how much flavor he feels in the work. Rather, he believes that the Creator does enjoy this work, since there is no mixture of the will to receive here, since he has nothing to receive, because there are no flavors or scent in this work, as there is only the taste of dust here. For this reason, he believes that this is the holy work, and he is delighted. Accordingly, we should interpret that a generation goes and a generation comes means ascends. A generation goes means that the state of ascent has parted from him, and a generation comes means that another ascent has come to him, and this is endless. However, quote, the earth forever stands, end quote. The earth is regarded as dust. When a person feels that he is placed in the earth, that there is no lower state than the one he is in. If a person works in the manner of earth, meaning that he agrees to work even in a state of dust, this is forever stands, when he has no falls because he is already placed in the earth and sanctifies the earth. What impressed me here is the matter of the son and daughter, where he says that if you did not correct his vessels of reception, it's not enough to correct only the vessels of bestow, as I understood that you need to correct vessels of perception as well. Then it's good that he wasn't created. It doesn't have a part in the holy name. Our goal is exalted. Let's continue to the lesson from the 31st of May 2002. Here in this article, we hear what tells us about the division between inanimate degree of sanctity, meaning a person who observes the commandments, he lives a normal life, a religious life, and a person who wants to advance a bit beyond that, and the difference between them is that the second one has spies, has doubts, and the second one, there's a necessity to turn to the Creator for help that he feels in his life, that even though he observes the commandments and he studies nevertheless, life are devoid of content, and this is because the point in the heart demands fulfillment, and this fulfillment can only be if it will be filled with the sensation of the Creator, the feeling of the light, and that's really the special thing here, the turning to the Creator for help when we feel it, because I see that everyone is here, and here speaks about how much we need to discern, observe these things. Are there spies in us that want give it a rest and constantly cast doubts in us? Where am I? Why am I here? What am I looking for in life? Is what I have not enough, even if I will be in Torah commandments, even if I will observe everything, even if I will be a good Jewish person? Is something else missing here? There. Spies are the reasons, those vessels, thanks to which a person advances. Although this is a negative force, but it's truly a messenger from the Creator to advance a person precisely to the land of Israel and to enter it. It follows that everyone knew that it was not within man's power to emerge from the control of self-reception, but that we must believe that the Creator can help. At that time a person falls into doubt whether it is true that the Creator can help in this, since he says that he has already asked the Creator several times to help him and give him the desire to bestow and award him the love of the Creator, but he received no answer to his prayer. At that time it is difficult for him to believe that the Creator will help him, but after all the efforts he has done. Without escaping the campaign, he is rewarded with obtaining the desire to be still, and then he sees within reason that were it not for the help of the Creator, he would not be able to overcome it. So why did the Creator make this process prepared for us? Because it's not enough to attain, to observe and to attain what's in the Torah. Rather, we must obtain in certain additional desire to adhere to Him, and to adhere to Him is the final goal, and the desire to adhere to the becomes a necessity. Exactly after a person sees it, without this he cannot find fulfillment. That's why all the disappointments and all the problem with the spies were each time he becomes despaired of his own forces to attain what he wants. Gradually there begins to form in his heart simply this feeling, willingness, knowledge that without the help from the Creator he's not able to reach his goal. So it's like a child who wants something and finally begins to understand that it depends on his father, that his father will help him attain what he wants. Similarly, we come to necessity for turning to the Creator because our desire and our nature are completely opposite, and if not for this necessity, we would never want to turn to Him. Man's inclination is evil from his youth. That's why through these disappointments we acquire a great desire to turn to Him, and then we come to meaning. We see that all the paths that He prepared for us, and the spies and the disappointments, and those past fulfillments and all those degrees were only so we would come to need Him. It follows that now that the Creator has helped him and granted his prayers, when he asked the Creator to help him, it is, as it is said, quote, He will open our hearts with His law and will place in our hearts the fear of Him and the love of Him to do His will and to serve Him wholeheartedly. End quote. How he praises the Creator for granting his prayers and how he values the blessings he has received from the Creator. Now a person is truly called blessed, and accordingly we say, quote, the blessed clings to the blessed, end quote, and then he can receive a great illumination because his quality of blessed is great. According to equivalence of form, we learned that we are existence out of absence. The desire to receive that was created as existence out of absence, meaning opposite in our nature from the Creator, and to the extent that we will invert the will, are able to receive the will to bestow through the intention to bestow. To that extent we'll approach Him until we adhere to Him, meaning the correction is not in the desire. We cannot change the desire. This is nature. What we can do is how to correct how we use our desire. Why are we using it? What for? If our use is in order to adhere to the Creator, to resemble Him, be equal to Him, then to that extent we begin to approach Him. To the extent that we approach Him, we're filled with the upper light, and we enter wholeness and eternity. If there are questions, ask in the middle. However, once a person has been rewarded with vessels of bestowal, he's considered to have borne a son, meaning a male. That is, he has obtained vessels of bestow, which is considered that he has been rewarded with the correction of creation, which is mercy or grace, meaning to serve the Creator with vessels of bestow which extend from above, from Zarin, from which are extended. For Zin is called male who bestows. It follows that the preparation is called father, for the preparation for something is called the reason, and the result is called the offshoot. This is considered that the person bore a male child, that he has now taken upon himself the desire to bestow, which is the correction of creation by which he will be able to receive the delight and pleasure. It follows that once he has a son called the correction of creation, comes the time when one needs to try and obtain the purpose of creation, which is his desire to do good to his creations. This is considered that the abundance comes from above downwards, meaning that the lower one is the receiver. This is considered that now the quality of a daughter was born who receives the light of the purpose of creation. This is a female who receives from the giver, and this is called Malhud, the last tier of the name Javier. In other words, now that he has a son and a daughter, which imply the Vav of the name, since the name are the letters Yad, where Yad Isma, the first is from which the quality of is extended, called, which receives. Maltu is extended from the Ad for she, receives called daughter. Hence when one is rewarded with bearing the qualities of son and daughter through his work, that person is considered to have completed the holy name. But if he did not bear a son and a daughter through his work, it means that he has not completed the holy name. This is why the Zoe says that it would be better for him were he not created, since man is created in the world in order to perform corrections and complete the holy name. As our sages said about the verse, quote, "The Lord has sworn, the Lord will have war against Amalek," end quote. They said, quote, "The Creator has sworn that his name is not complete, and his throne is not complete until he blots out the name of Amalek," end quote. We should interpret that the name Yad, called, should illuminate, for Vav this comes through man's work who bears a son and a daughter, meaning a male, which are vessels of bestowal in which the light of shines and also extends to malhood, called daughter, which are vessels of reception in which the light of illuminates at that time through one's work. One completes the holy name called Yud of faith, and this comes by blotting out Amalek, meaning by engaging in commandments in order to complete the holy name, and then he will reveal the wholeness called He is one, and his name one. A bit more, it follows that one who did not complete the holy name, who did not bear a son and a daughter, meaning did not correct the vessels of pestle in which the light of shines, which is considered male, and even if he did bear a son called a male, he has still not completed his work of bearing a female too, meaning vessels of reception, which will enter kosher holiness in which the light of shines, called female, which is the light that shines from above downwards to the creatures, for the receivers of their abundance are called female. We are told that he still did not complete his work, hence it is better for him were he not created, because he has no part at all in the holy name. This is as said above, that he did not draw the veil for drawing the light into the vet depends on the actions of the lower ones. This is the meaning of quote, which God has created to do, end quote, that the lower ones must draw through the good deeds. This is as the says, that all the works of the lower ones, whether good deeds or bad deeds, God forbid, concern only the V which are called, and meaning we can only prepare our vessels, the abundance that is in the Y of the name. Keter is well, let me illustrate, have ket, or the quality of root, or the thought of creation, to do good to his created beings. From the light descends. Then we have the quality of and preparing the light, and then here is the entire system that brings out, executes the entire plan, and the upper polite and the lower ones are, meaning this is these are our actions, good deeds, but to the extent that will fit and be compatible within this couple, when they will fit, sons, children, male and female, to the extent that they will be compatible, the lower one with the upper one, to that extent they will be filled with the abundance that is here without any limitation. Then they will reach the purpose of creation. That's what writes in the introduction to test, where we begin from the question of what is the purpose of our life's emptiness, and the answer is taste and see the Lord is good, the upper light that must fill the vessels, the soul of the created being. Clear. Those things are simple, right before your eyes, so a person can easily establish his correct vision. Eventually has to resemble, and Biner has to resemble as it's written. In the future Mar is destined to be Ab, and born to be Sag. There's such a condition in reception in Kabbalah about the correction, what conditions you reach. Correction, the end of correction. What is the connection between and Israel that he scrutinizes? We learned with you that the whole thing is that we are in our process where the Creator created through 5 worlds, and Ab brings us down to this world. So we return to that same degree called self through our own efforts or our own forces. This is called the A state. This is the B state generally speaking, and back to himself is called the C state. That's how he talks about it in the introduction or the preface to the book of Torah. What's the difference? And so we are here in the start of creation to do good to his created beings fully. The light and the vessel are together in an unchanging state. This is the only state the Creator created, an infinite, eternal state, perfect state, except we are here on the degree of root, the coarseness of root, that we feel, let's say, from him, like an embryo in his mother's womb. We feel the light of Nephesh. Rest, a state of rest. Entertain that we are together with Creator, and we need to go through the construction of the vessel that this desire will be as if we give birth to it. From ourselves, we are lacking a deficiency, and then to create this deficiency, we must go descend to the state where it's the opposite from self, and through our own labor to go back to self with our deficiency in our desire, as we say, by raising man through prayer and good deeds, through mitzvot we raise the soul to. And now, what is a male and all these other discernments? So in order to do this work, we need two opposite forces. This is called two angels that bring a person to Shabbat. From the eve of Shabbat to Shabbat, two opposite forces. We have two opposite forces. That's the qualities of the light and the qualities of the vessel. But we need them to be precisely in opposition. Here they are, in wholeness and in adhesion. So in order to make them opposites, there's a spiritual action, here called the shattering of the vessels, where the connection between the vessel and the light was broken. The screen was shattered, as we learn it. This is the screen. It shattered, and then through lack of adhesive between them. When the screen was shattered, we begin to feel inside of us two opposite forces. The good force and the evil force. The good force under the good inclination and the evil inclination. And then through the struggle between them, or the good force is the spark of the Creator, the divine part from above, and the evil inclination is the stony heart, Amalek, the snake, three impure shells. Doesn't matter how you call it. We're between these two forces, good and evil, right? Good and evil. We're in their middle. Who are we? We are the shell of Noah. It's neither good nor bad, rather depends on where what we ascribe ourselves to, where we associate what we associate ourselves with. So half good and half bad, it says about it, meaning either to the good or to the bad. So how can we know where is the good and where's the bad? And this is why our path is always made of a sense. And the sense, and the sense. First a person enters the left line, then he sees it's evil, he goes to the right, again left, he goes to the right, and this way you rise until the end of correction, meaning it can't be that in certain degree you're simply going to go up. You must fall to the left, check that it's evil, and then go right. Why can I go right instead of left? Because our nature from the get-go is drawn to the evil. The man's heart, men's inclination, is evil from its youth. No. Is this written? Well, no. But right here, no. Why? Why am I writing this way? I'm thinking about the evil. So, no. Good. So what is our choice actually? If we learn that between the good and evil we automatically follow evil, and then we go to the good. Where is the point of choice? I don't know what you refer to choice. What is choice? Depict the state where you have choice. That's what you drew there, or in exactly the state between good and evil, which is actually, if I'm exactly between good and evil, and I don't know how to choose, what will I choose? What does it mean in the middle? In the middle, they both seem the same to me. It's written that this is bad, this is good. That doesn't tell me anything. How do I feel it? Yes, I don't see in advance. There are no sticker signs in this world on all the desires, all the lusts, all the deeds. If this good or this is good or evil, if it were so, then what would be our choice? So I'm always between various options, let's say, which are completely equal to me. If they're equal, then how can I choose? Well, so why is no called half good, half bad, half evil? What choice can there be? Half good, half evil. I said it's because I can go towards this or that, but where to go, you don't know in advance. If you know in advance, there's no choice. If you're told this is better, more worthwhile than that, then how do I choose? It's only through the ascension and descents. There is no righteous man in the land who did good and did not sin, meaning every time you have to go into failure, and according to the failure, according to the feeling of how opposite this is from the spiritual degree wholeness, perfection, the state of the Creator. In accordance with that, you have some recognition of who He is, what He is, as the advantage of flight out of darkness, and then you yearn for Him, you aspire, and then in that way you gather all these yearnings until you reach a state where you truly shout, and you adhere to him. You receive these powers and you adhere until you truly build a real desire. But this is only from this feeling. And so, all these wars with Amalek, the shells. What's written to us, all the wars, the war of conquest in the testimony, it all clarifies to us the discernments that a person needs to go through in order to reach the land of Israel. The land of Israel meaning land desire. The land of desire Israel where the desire is exactly similar, exactly like the Creator's desire of Israel. It will receive a screen on the height of the light which clothes on the degree of self. Yes, you say adhesion. Do you mean the purpose of creation? Purpose of creation is to adhere to him. Yes, you say that the purpose of creation is to delight his created beings. To delight the created beings. That is the state. And to adhere to him. That is the action. By to adhere to him, you receive the thought of creation, which is to do good to his created beings. Sounds like adhesion is bener, and the purpose of creation ism. Again, it sounds like adhesion is bener, and the purpose of creation ism. The thought of creation perhaps that is. What do you mean, Luke? Where is this? We have. Where is it? Walking the path of truth. It's in the letters. MHM. Ah, you have it. Good. Everyone does. So, let's open page 101 for the student. Page 101. If we're advancing correctly to the goal, then we're advancing through the middle line, which is not right, nor left. It incorporates both. From the left, we receive desires. We correct them with the intention in order to bestow from the right side. And then from these two we rise through the middle line. And here he describes to us how to do it. Look at the third paragraph and I will explain to you the secret of the middle pillar, which is the secret of the Torah. The Creator and Israel are one, meaning the Torah, that is the light, the laws of advancement. Israel, that is the person, the soul, that wants to reach the degree where it is. Adhere to the Creator and the Creator. That is the goal, and they are one. Why? Because in the first state, as well as in the third state, well, it's one thing, and we need by our own powers to rise to that state. For the purpose of the soul when it comes to the body, meaning why are we in this world, constituted of both body and the soul, because the soul which will be awarded while clothed in the body. When we live here in this world after death, we never talk about what happens after death. In the wisdom of Kabbalah, we talk about what a person must attain in his life here in this world. And so while clothed in a body, what does the soul need? To return to its root and to adhere to him, the Creator. Meaning, while still in this life, we need to come to the spiritual degree rather from the spiritual degree called this world. It's a spiritual degree, a degree where we are opposite to this, to the good state, the goal we need to climb this entire spiritual ladder, all the way through to the end of correction. And one who doesn't do it in one incarnation does it over several. And actually all the process, all the generations BA describes it as the souls which are reincarnating, returning to this world so as to ultimately reach the third state, as it is written, to love the Lord your God and to follow his ways. Now you can see how many things here love and to follow his ways and to keep his commandments and to adhere to him. And here you see that the goal of the matter is to adhere to him, meaning as the soul was prior to its clothing in a body. Anyone here asking about adhesion? Yes. In the work it's as if right and left, good and evil, I can see it only in retrospect. It doesn't matter to me. Because before I enter the state I can't tell what it'll be like if I each time I have to hold on to these three things right. The same thought regardless of the state in the work, only in retrospect I can see what was good and bad right. So how do I do this work? During the preparation stage I unite these three things. I take the desire to him, I take my thought to him, I receive now the connection between me and him. What do I do with it? Let's say I don't know pleasure in the group in the state of preparation. It's enough to think about it. I have to bless. What do I say? You don't need anything. If you say what do I need, you're already spoiling the process. How do you know what you're going to need? I'm asking. So there's this one very simple thing. There's only one force that can help us It's the reforming light. If you think you have the intellect and the advanced knowledge of how to go from state to state, well, obviously no one has it. Simply, I'm explaining this to you now, and it's as though it's the first time you hear about it. And so, you'll hear about it for the first time in each and every state that you haven't gone into yet. Because if you don't have this new vessel, you don't know how it's built, and how you need to correct it, and how you're supposed to fill it with light. That's how it is on every degree to attain from the left side the vessel to correct it from the right side, and then to rise through the middle line to fill it. And so it is left, right, middle, left, right, middle. You have to advance, and you never know ahead of time what to do because you're not on that degree. Simply, these are called degrees where what you haven't attained you don't have. So how to advance then? You have a very simple solution. The light, as we learned through the 4 phases of direct light, which created the vessel, built the vessel, and gave the vessel all its qualities. Then it turns the vessel from good to evil, from evil to good. It does whatever it wants, that very same light. I needed to continue working on me. There is no other solution. So, open page 198. We keep returning to it, right? Accordingly, we should ask, if so, why did the Kabbalists obligate every person to study the wisdom of Kabbalah? There is a great thing in this which should be made public, because there is a great remedy giver for those who engage in the wisdom of Kabbalah. Even though they do not understand what they learn, they don't demand to understand. They only want, right? They yearn. If you have a yearning, great. If there's no yearning, there's nothing to do. However, through the great desire to understand what they're learning, they awaken upon themselves the lights that surround their souls. Interpretation. Because every person of Israel is promised to attain all the great attainments, meaning to reach the correction and adhere to him, which the Creator thought in the thought of creation, to please every created being. Well, each one of us is already in this state, but we need to discover that state ourselves, as it is written, and I ate of the old of the ancient. However, one who wasn't awarded in this incarnation will be awarded in the next, and so on, second, third, and so on. That is the process. That's why we reincarnate, we return here until he's awarded with completing the Creator's thought, which he thought on about him, as is written in the Soha, meaning you reach well the state you're already there in, and so you just don't feel it now. You're just unconscious. Gradually, you as if purify your vessel of reception until you feel it more and more. Oh, I reached the end of correction. What did you correct? I corrected, you corrected. Rather the vessels, your vessels, in which you feel the state called the end of correction. Yes. One more sentence. So, as you study, if you study correctly, and there are conditions for this which Kabbalists detail. So, when you study, if you study correctly, you receive a force from above, a force which leads you to the goal. Very simply, it leads you through various things. It gets you into failures, into disappointments, as we read in the article. Yes, where this is done deliberately so that you will feel that you acquire the Creator's help, and so on. But it's through the light that you advance. So you have no other alternative. It's only through study. My question is, we learn that in the spiritual degree there's seemingly no connection between one degree and the next. So, posterior and interior doesn't matter. What has to be done in the preparation stage, that every stage I go through, from the darkness I receive a vessel, I fill it with light, and it's a new state. But there are things where eventually I return to the same point, as if I lost my grip. What within your power to do should do the group the reforming light. How can I hold on to all these discernments over time? No, you see, he emphasizes here, even though they don't understand what learning that's, he implies that this is through the entire path. If you truly enter, you leave the degree of the still means that you're unchanging, and you can say that I do everything that's written in, and so on. But if you never change, you're called still inanimate with respect to spirituality. So if you exit the state of the inanimate and you want to rise, you never know what up is. You never know what it means to be 5 years older. Ask a child, he can tell you whatever he wants. but he himself inside does not know. Even though we have examples, right? But he has examples, but we don't. So this is why it's called the tour of the concealed, the teaching of the concealed. Why concealed? The next degree is always concealed, so it is each time you want to advance with the intellect. But if you could advance with the intellect, you would not need the creator, you would not need the society, any of it, but you're given the society, you're given the creator, you're given all these conditions, and the intellect is not given, and understanding is not given, and you are given more and more disappointments, confusions. Look how we have people sitting here. I remember myself as well when I came to the Raresh. I was 33 years old. I went through university, doctorate, PhD. I worked in a research institute, and here, in the Air Force in Israel. I was independent already, meaning I went through many things in life, and suddenly, you sit down, some things are explained to you every day. You're completely confused. The intellect doesn't grasp it. We're disoriented. You fell into some world which isn't yours at all. You understand, with all the experience I have in life, that I had. I remember, and I looked at what did I have before on top of him, when I understand in his life. He's sitting there in some synagogue in the corner, and that's it. Then I understand that he understands everything in his life, and I don't understand anything. And it's always like that towards the next degree, how we feel it. That's why it's called the next degree. Where's the posterior of the upper? Inside. This is always, and this is in order to, on purpose, in order to compel you to turn to the light, to the reforming light. Look at what's written. If we're already going to go get confused, then let it be in wholeness. That's also hard, but read please, Owen. Connecting the measure of mercy with judgment. Connecting mercy with judgment. The main work is the choice, meaning, and you choose life, which is a teaching, meaning by this you're rewarded being adhered to spiritual life. Where is our actual choice? We have one action from all the actions that we do in our lifetime, which is in free choice for us. If we were true researchers, and we would look at ourselves with the eyes of a scientist, we would see that our entire biological body, our physiology, all the wise things that we have in our mind all together, the 2% that we're using, etc., etc., these are systems that altogether we can't even determine anything. Yes. Function is function also in the brain, also in the thought process, even in all kinds of way that we seemingly get along in life with our choices, etc. In the end, we are operating according to a computer, some kind of conditions that it receives, how it connects them according to our attributes, meaning according to the beginning, the initial conditions, and altogether by this we are completely like beasts. We operate according to the laws of nature, and we have no possibility of entering our choice into it to put some detail or condition that will be from the side, even from that side. If so, then where is that side that we take it from? Or maybe someone will tell me, or I'll just see some phenomena in life around me, so it's also things that are absorbed inside this box of mine, and in short, a person has no choice. He explains this in the article The Freedom. It's also here in the Freedom article is here. You can read it later. A person has no action in his life besides one action, and you have chosen life. What is to choose life? That he explains in the rest of things. It's not worthwhile to pay attention to. That's what he wants to emphasize, because all the rest things, if they cascade one way or another, we like it or like they will happen that way. But if we put all our attention on that point, then we succeed. Nevertheless, this is where we build our independence. Yes, again, the association of the quality of judgment with mercy. The main work is choice, meaning choose life. So there will be a teaching which is lishmer. By this one is rewarded with a teaching with a life of lies in the creator, in the source of life. When there's open providence, there's no room for choice. So if a person doesn't, if there's revealed providence, then this means that all of reality, all the created beings, everything functions according to their inner programming, and then we seemingly don't exist. For this reason, the upper one raised the malat, which is the quality of judgment, to the anime. What does that mean? Because of this, because in revealed providence there's no choice, and they want a person to be independent. So something will be determined on his own for what? Because through his independence, by that he will feel who he is, what he is. By that he will define some action on his behalf, and by that he will be able to reach the degree of the Creator on his own. The degree of the Creator. Because to adhere to him means to reach that level and to adhere equal, and by this it created a concealment. Meaning this concealment is in order to give us choice. Meaning that it seemed to the lower one that there was a drawback in the upper one. By what are we given choice? We are given a feeling thought that the upper one, meaning the spiritual world, is not only not there. If it's not, then we would just be like beasts, living in this world not knowing anything of it, but rather those who want to advance. For those who wanted to be progressed, to advance, to make from them Adam, humans, and make them have choice, it's to them that we give that concealment is given. That beginning of the concealment, we now feel how since each of us wants to attain something in his life from what he doesn't know, let's consider there's some concealment upon him already that are of the upper, meaning the upper degree akap is called the lower layer of the upper one, and it is considered to beginning to work on us in such a way that it draws us, attracts us to the concealments, and there's a deficiency in the upper one. Yes, there is no greatness in the upper one. That's what we feel. If we feel so, we enter into despair. The study is not attractive. The path seems unclear. Yes, correct. Yes, correct. Wonderful. No, meaning we already enter somewhat into the process. Subsequently, the qualities of the upper one are placed within the lower one, meaning they are deficient. That's how you feel not something. It follows that these vessels have equivalence with the lower one, namely that as there is no validity to the lower one, there's no valid vitality in the upper one. That's how it appears to the lower one, for also in the upper one there's no vitality, and the upper one, because the upper one on purpose disassembled himself from the light and shows the Lord that there's nothing, meaning there's no taste in, for they are lifeless, there are phenomeners, and that's why it's said that it's a dangerous to study cap for a person who observes 2 commandments and performs all the things that are demanded of a duty to do in his lifetime. When he enters such states, such descents as we call them, and he even begins to disparage those things, so much so that all things appear to him as tasteless and have no value, then there's place for choice. That the lower one has to say that all the concealment he feels is because the upper one restricted himself for the sake of the lower one, meaning what was the choice you to come to a state that you understand that the restriction, that confused state, that empty state is in order to give you choice. You understand, and then there's room for choice, meaning that the lower one should say, meaning to reach such an understanding that you'll say with your mouth that's not worth a thing. There needs to be a certain definition of a state, or deciding on the state in the heart and mind inside, that this concealment he feels is because the upper one restricted himself on purpose for your benefit, and this is called Israel, who have exiled thee is with him, that is called the upper degree, and the way you feel now, so it's in exile, and whatever taste he tastes towards the upper one, what is the worth the upper one? That's how he says the upper one's worth, meaning he's not to blame with the fact that he does not feel the taste of vitality, but rather by his opinion, by his reason. There's no vitality and spirituality in the upper one. A person always decides according to what he feels, what he has. And if now the choice, if a person overcomes, what does it mean overcomes? By what you were crying out. Here all that you can do with your might do. What are all these laws that seemingly I'll go and study? I'll go study with a group and help the friends to be impressed by them, and that. What's that whole matter? What? Confusion. There's no clear path, seemingly. Do something. So by all kinds of sideway actions that you do in the group. Why, the group we've already learned. We could say more about, but if a person overcomes, meaning you receive additional forces, and says that that which you find that bitter taste in these nourishments in the upper one, meaning that they're not suitable to receive the abundance, since his vessels are to receive and not to bestow. He's sorry that the upper one, the sorry one had to conceal himself, and for that there's room for the lower one for slander, or you can say that the upper one's not okay and there's nothing in him also that's considered raising. Man, then it turns into a request, meaning by taking a deficiency from others around that are around you, study with them by receiving light from above, the illumination. Then your deficiency in which you're not satisfied with life, in short, well, just like you're sitting now today, becomes man. It becomes the request where the lower one, which the royal lower one raises up, you don't know how you raise it, but your attitude towards the upper one is called raising man. And by this, what does the upper one do? It raises its, and the matter of as raising ing up or ascending is read please. By this he raises his. Raising means that the upper one can show the lower one the merit and the pleasure that exists in the vessels of that the upper one can reveal. Thus, from the perspective of the lower one, it follows that he raises the of the lower one, and by this itself the lower one sees the merit of the upper one. It follows that the lower one ascends together with the of the upper one. The degrees are built from 10, right? You know it. This is how the lower one and upper one are also built that way. The upper one lowers its and to the lower one and makes it as if they're empty. There's nothing there. So what happens then? If here there is no light, it's empty. What does the lower one feel? That emptiness. So got that name are called vessels of bestow, and they are vessels of reception. Why does the upper one make his empty? So the lower one can correct its own vessels of. When the of the lower one is water, vessels of bestow, meaning I don't want anything. If I don't want anything, I won't see that he's empty, meaning the emptiness of the lower one is my indication to which degree to where I can correct my gala, because in the first initial they number 1 my name are corrupted, they're broken, and I need to bring them to be in delighted and mercy that they don't want anything. Vessels of bestow, if they'll be on a degree that I don't want anything in them, the correction of the screen, so the emptiness in the upper one won't be felt as something negative, meaning the upper one in this way, when it shows the lower one that it's empty, it gives us a way to measure as much as we need to correct ourselves. That in this state we need to feel like you feel now. That what are you lacking now? You feel bad emptiness, nothing. That is what the of the upper one is bestowing upon you. So you shouldn't erase this feeling and not erase your state. Now, you need to add your exertion. Why does it say everything in your powers to do it? Now you have to add vessels, screens, forces. That they, even though in the state you feel now that there's nothing in the upper one, suddenly you'll start feeling that everything is there, that it's whole, that you're not lacking anything. It's not that you're not lacking all together, that I'm dead or I don't care. That I'm not lacking means that the upper one is good, that he has everything, that nothing of the abundance is missing. So the next state now is to equip yourself or yourself with forces that will correct that state until the degree of delighted and mercy of the upper one. If you do it, then what happens next? If a person overcomes and finds bitter taste, is because he doesn't have the right vessels that he can receive that abundance, because his vessels are to receive and not to bestow, and he feels sorry that the upper one had to conceal himself. For this, the lower one will slander. It's a place to raise money. You work on it and receive the forces. By this the upper one raises his. Raising means that the upper one can show the lower one the merit and the pleasure that exists in the vessels of that the upper one can reveal. Thus, from the perspective of the lower one, it follows when he raises of the lower one with the of the upper one, it shows the lower one the merit of the upper one. It follows that the lower one ascends together with the of the upper one. That's it. In such a state I cannot receive fuel from myself. You can never get fuel from yourself. Who are you? Where are you going to take it from? You are on a lower degree. You want to raise to upper degrees, so you need to get an addition also of desires and also of screens corrections. What's the difference between a small one and a big one? You're lacking a bit of flesh and a bit of intellect, right? You don't give forces to a child. Why? Because he's lacking the intellect. He could harm someone as much as he's added force. He gets more intellect if one will be more than the other. So it's a danger, right? Same here too. You just got an addition of forces of negative forces from the upper one, uncorrected desires by him concealing himself. Now, you need to receive from him also light to correct those empty vessels, and then you will be equal to the upper one. But if you won't do anything, you'll go to sleep, so it won't get better. Specifically on these states when you lost all your air came out, then you must turn to the group. Study all the actions that can help you. That's called the good deeds. Deeds that bring you to the good. No other choice in you. You will never find those forces. If now, when I'm in an ascent, I'm brought this descent actually so that I will advance, and then I won't remain in the ascent, because in the ascent I don't want to advance. And if I'm in a descent, I have no forces actually. Then you won't have to ask for the vessels. You only have to yearn for the goal, and to which state he brings you, the center and ascent. That's none of your business. From the root of your soul, according to that, you get your states one after the other. It turns out that one way or another, inside me there are no fuels of theirs, no fuel for myself. It's like I'm filling myself in the environment. So, where does that come the matter of Lishma here? After all, let's say I want spirituality with inside me, because where's your freedom of choice? The article the freedom he writes in the end. He writes at the end of the freedom article. That's why he who makes efforts and every time chooses a better environment, he is worth praise and a reward, and also not because of his good thoughts. So there is one choice. It's every time to choose a better environment, meaning books and authors. That's called the study and the group. That every time they will bestow good thoughts upon you. They will direct you to the goal. They will give you the fuel. You have no other choice. Why, I already explained this. I can explain it again. Because they're in the first state, and in the third state we are all connected together as one man with one heart in one soul. Afterwards the soul is divided into 600,000 parts. But there we are included together. So, you can get an addition of a desire, an addition of forces only from above. You draw the light from above. You are given advice how to do it only through the society. Why? What's in the society? That I'll be one person in the world. Because there you're connected with more souls. They are beside you. And from here, from the level of this world, you can get the forces of the connection that you are with them. By that you draw from them. From them you draw those additional desires and additional forces, because there you are together. It's general forces, meaning you have an opportunity through them while you are in your private part. And a descent, you can get that additional forces through them. That's why all of our choice is he writes he makes efforts every day of his life only searching for a better environment. By this he really implements his freedom of choice. You have nothing else to do in life. That's it. So every time it's really running from the seat of the scornful and searching where the wise men are sitting. Yes. How can I receive help from the group if my relations with the Creator are equal towards meaning? What precisely in my relations with the Creator, what am I allowed to reveal in the group? So here you're asking about the technique, what to reveal, how to relate to the group. That's a whole Torah. It's always studied in groups, and we have the complete method of how we have to behave in the group, the sacred group, the students of the BTO with his teachings. We have a lot of examples. Here, you can open the book, and you'll see society as a cause for spiritual attainment. You have a whole part here. It's like 50 or 60 pages that are only discussing that. Articles that tell you how you need to behave with a group, how you need to aid society and build it correctly. Then when you are in a weak state, like he's describing his state now, how you can get forces from them, and how the society must give you forces, but without that there's nothing you can do. Why are we building groups? So they'll just sustain one another and have it'll be a bit of happiness. No, do not run so. You'll feel you're between your friends. No, this is something spiritual, completely. It's a completely different goal. Spiritual matter only to get forces to advance spiritually. We're going to move now to study with friends guided by PT 24. Dear beloved friends, let's sharpen our intentions before the lesson together in a mutual demand that the Creator will soften our heart towards the friends. That will He will take our prayers with love. Everything for the friends will aim with happiness and gratitude that our purpose will only be to raise in the degrees of holiness and adhere to Him. Yes, friends, we've studied today an amazing thing that the Creator actually needs our participation to complete the process of creation of the correction of creation. This partnership is called the birth of a son and daughter in the work. Today we want to scrutinize and deepen on this topic to see how, through the connection between us, while we're demanding from the Creator to participate with us in this point, to see how we can advance towards that part of ours in completing the correction of creation. So we're going to read an excerpt from the lesson where Rush explains to us what this spiritual state called giving birth to a son and a daughter in the work is. Excerpt number 1. Once a person was rewarded with vessels of bestow. It's called that he was given a son, meaning he attained vessels of bestow, which are called that he was rewarded with the correction of creation, which is that is to serve the Creator with vessels of pestle which extend from above as far as pin from which emerge is called male bestowing. It turns out that the preparation is called a father as a preparation for a thing is called the cause, and the consequence is called that which was born from it. This is considered that a person gave birth to a male son which received the desire to bestow. Now that is the correction of creation by which they will be able to receive the good and delight. It turns out that after one has a son, called the correction of creation, the time came now whereas a person needs to try and attain the purpose of creation, which is his desire to do good to his created beings. And this is considered that the abundance comes from above downwards. That is the lower one is the receiver, which is called that now a daughter was born. That is she receives the light of the purpose of creation, which is the female, which receives from the bestower, and it's called the last H of the name Harver. Attaining vessels of bestow is the birth and court a son, where preparation is called the father, and only by that correction we cause the vessel worthy of receiving the abundance. How does this work take place? Where does it take place? Can we do this work without the environment, without the group? We will scrutinize this between us now in an active workshop. So the question for the workshop is, what does it mean that in the 10 we give birth to a son and daughter in the spiritual work? What does it mean that in the 10 we are giving birth to a son and daughter in the spiritual work? What he writes here, a son is the correction of vessels of bestow. He received now the desire to bestow the correction of creation, and then he can receive the good and delight, which is already the matter of a daughter, where it is the light of the purpose of creation, and that's the correction of the reception of our vessel. And then he gives birth to new qualities that aren't in our nature, that have a spiritual nature, and we do the correction here in the group with the books, with all the actions that we do together. We are drawing light, and by that we perform corrections. Yeah, the light is what eventually comes from a person's demand for it. There has to be a true demand towards bestow, and the light can truly work and build vessels of bestolen. And first of all, the ability to actually be in the quality of bestowed, which is called male or son. From that he can correct his vessels of reception, called the daughter. Then only if he keeps them both, it turns out that he fulfills the purpose of creation. In the lesson, Rav said that a person has no action in his lifetime besides one action, which is, and you have chosen life. Life comes, as the name in Hebrew, life is the name of a friend, but it's also in that it comes from the centre of the connection between us. Yet in the 10 we give birth to vessels of bestow and reception. You can look at it in a way that on the path of correction from below upward, first we acquire the vessels of bestow to bestow in order to bestow what we call a male. Then after we acquire the screen or vessels of bestow, we join the vessels of reception, and then it's receiving in order to bestow. So there are degrees in this. And also, if we were to look at Ra's words, it's all in concealment. All the spiritual degrees are not similar to one another as he describes it. It's all in concealment. And one of the signs is you're not satisfied. Something is not good for you, and then you come to the group, and with the addition of all these small additions, and that's how you advance in concealment. So it means that in the 10. For this, I guess we have to connect in a way that we already have one whole vessel, common vessel, bestow, and we correct the degrees of separation between us to a degree that we are already in. It is such an adhesion that, upon all the separation, that grows. Where did he write about it? That in the end of the article, that he's already doesn't care if he works in the dust, that it doesn't matter to him. He's all in bestow. Also, he doesn't measure the taste he has in the work, and he believes that the Creator is enjoying the work of connection between us, and that's our calculation only with the pleasure of the Creator, not of ourselves. And then we start to act and invest outside of each of our desires, but to the common desire, the center of the 10. Again, this work isn't easy or simple. It's against our nature, and we have only one choice to choose the group, the environment, to get the fuel to work from it. Anyway, writes that the whole connection between the individual and the society is 2 commandments actually, of bestow and reception. So this way also your entire connection with the environment is always in bestow and reception. Rather, here we want to associate all these to be able to have the Creator build these into vessels of bestow. And by this we come to the necessity. The necessity itself, the need, is what can evoke a common prayer between us, because we understand where we need to be and where we are. And by this we actually awaken the light, which does all the change. Exactly. That's what said that then you have no other choice, but only by the study that we. This process of correction is not simple. Rob teaches us that we are actually, when we stand before the next degree, we can never see what's there. We have never the intellect to understand the next degree. That's why it enters us into a certain confusion of how can we advance in advancement. We'll watch a clip from Rob, who explains to us the manner of the work, even though we're in a state of misunderstanding and unknowing of the next degree. So, watch clip number 1. In the work, right and left, good or bad, it really doesn't matter, because before I go into a state, I don't know what it's going to be. So every time I have to hold on to this thought, I can't see what's good or bad. Right? Yes. How do I do it in the preparation? How do I unite these things? I take the thought, I take the desire, and get the connection between me and him. So what do I do with it? It's enough that I think about him. Or should I try? And you don't need anything. If you say, what do I need? You're already corrupting the process. How do you know what you need? We're asking. So for this, there's a simple matter. There's but one force that can help us, and it's the reforming light. If you think that you have the intellect and the knowledge in advance how to go from one state to another, it's clear to everyone here, you don't have it. Simply the way I'm explaining to you now. For the first time you're hearing it, that's how you'll hear it for the first time each time about a state that you have yet to enter. Because if you don't yet have the new vessel, then you don't know how it's built, and how you need to correct it, and how you need to fill it with light. And that's how it is with each degree. You attain on the left and left side a vessel, on the right side correct it, and like that in the middle line fill it. And that's how you have to go left, right, middle, left, right, middle. And you can never know in advance what to do, because you're just not in this degree. This is called the degrees. And what you have yet to attain you don't have. Friends, how many times did we try to know everything through our mind, to try and understand their states of what good or bad is, what is right and what is left? From this excerpt, clearly said that you can't know everything in advance. From the mind, we can't reach our next state. Alone it won't work. But specifically, when we come to this point, this understanding that we can't keep working with our mind from that point starts a true work. So friends, let's connect all of us together, because only from that connection we can really do something. So let's hug the hearts of the friends, and from that connection we will answer the next question from the connection, not from the mind. So the question for the workshop is, what is the correct way to go from one state to the next on the spiritual path in the 10? Again, what is the correct way to go from one path to the next on the spiritual path in the 10-6 minutes? Okay, in this context, Rav described the Torah of concealment that is concealed from us, and that's why we never know what the next degree is. It's the upper intellect, and with the lower intellect, we cannot attain the upper intellect. What we need to do is simply put ourselves in a society with the influence of the light, the influence of the Creator. And this society, from its values and its interaction, will aim you, guide you to attain the upper mind just like a child. And I've given an example to this. May I don't know what his state's going to be in 5 years, but for the sake of it he's in school, and there's a teacher, and there's books, and that's how he grows up. That's how we grow in the environment with the light and the Creator that's in it. And our mind can help us in these things, so we need to process it gradually, all these sensations, because we are before a higher degree. And the only thing that, as mentioned, is to choose life, the group, the friends, and to do actions where the rain falls, as we say, where the life that reforms works. So, smaller or bigger actions for the sake of connection, to stay close to the groups, close to the teacher as much as possible. And just as the friend spoke really nicely now and reminded us that the entire goal of this workshop and the scrutinies we do are to reach a state that from the connection we will scrutinize things, and not from each on his own. So that's precisely the direction through which we need to scrutinize, meaning our study, every action we do, so that there will be maximal benefit from it. It needs to be from this place of the whole connection, and to the extent in which we can aspire towards it and act from within it. Yet in the right way is everything you think that is right to do for today. Do it, and don't postpone it for tomorrow. The most important thing is to demand the light. We always hear and talk about this. The light is what awakened us to correct us, and what will fill us. We need to remember what our goal is with each action, and that we can attain the goal only by the light, and demand it. A personal, serious recognition that only the light can. It's as if this action also can be automatic. It's a person needs to reach a necessity that this is the force that can actually work and correct and advance us as a group. You have to demand it as a group, and to feel that necessity together. We also need to remember that all the states are complete, perfect states. The Creator gives us precisely the state that we need. Now in the tent, also before the Congress, I've also drew it nicely on the board, with the of the upper one, how it's closed in the gal of the lower one, and how the upper gives a person the feeling of the emptiness, that he's lacking something. By giving him emptiness, he's actually moving, motivating the lower one to search for the fulfillment where he can receive it in the upper one. And our upper one, that is a 10. It's a Creator. It's a society. And we need to remember that all of our deficiencies, all these, the emptiness, is only fulfilled in the connection between us, only in our group. So it seems, in of what everyone's saying, there's a good chance that Uter will arrange for us a 3rd night in the Congress. We just need to start thinking about this practically. What's the right way to go from one state to the another spiritually in the tent? So, also yesterday was inspired by Ra's explanation about it, that it's not supposedly, that there's a jump between one state to the next in spirituality. That's the thing that's why also the mind can't work here, because the mind is linear, and here the states aren't. So it turns out that it's irrational what a person is demanded to do. That's why there's only the action of the upper force on a person. We're all human beings, creatures of feeling. We learned and already understood that from our intellect nothing comes up. It's impossible to attain something through our logic, which is completely egoistic. So what remains for us? The feeling. So how to work correctly with the feeling? Many times I heard from the friends that when they spoke of how can I pass along this feeling, how can I say what I feel? So what feeling are we searching for? What feeling do we need to work upon? It teaches us that we just need to work on the desire for the goal, to long for it. That's what cabs teach us. We're going to watch clip number 2 together. You don't have anything how to advance, then, so we have a simple solution. The light, as we learn through the 4 phases, created the vessel, built the vessel, and gave the vessel all its qualities. Then it turns the vessel from good to bad to good, does whatever it wants with it. So that same light is what I need in order to keep working on it. There's no other solution. That's why, open introduction to tests item 155. We always come back to this. Therefore, we must ask, why did the Kabbalists obligate every person to study the wisdom of Kabbalah? Indeed, there is a great thing about it, which should be publicized. There is a wonderful and valuable remedy to those who engage in the wisdom of Kabbalah. Although they don't understand what they are learning, they're not demanding that you understand, only if you yearn for it. If you have the yearning, great. If you don't, so there's nothing you can do. But from the strong desire to understand what they are learning, they awaken upon themselves the light that surrounds their souls. And dear friends, dear world, in the introduction to the study of Tro, there's an item 155, and probably this is the most important foundation in the wisdom of Kabbalah, because the Kabbalists throughout the generations attained and experienced godliness, spirituality, and they brought down for us all that they've attained. Due to the nature of things, we cannot understand what they wrote, and therefore, in this wondrous method, there is a force that simply is waiting, expecting one thing from us, longing, desire to experience what the Kabbalists wrote for us, and we have been rewarded with a great, huge gift this generation that we have friends in the world to clear. Amazing that labor days and nights only to implement this most important thing in relation to the whole world, and this is with the whole world and the soul that was born. That's why we're doing this work for everyone, and we're on the right path together. We will do this. We will bring forth our yearning, each a sesame seed to the center, and, God willing, we will implement only together. Hey, item 155 in the introduction to the story of my good friends in the 10 asked me to compose item 155. And I said to them immediately that it's impossible. I'm too small for that. It's not something that can be done. They asked, and I said I will try. I turned to the Creator, asked for help, and this is what the Creator gave me. I hope that you will love it, and if not, then between the tones we will advance to this most important thing. Therefore we must ask, why then did the Kabbalists obligate every person to study the wisdom of Kabbalah? Indeed, there's a great thing about it, which is worth that should be publicized. There's a wonderful and valuable remedy to those who engage in the wisdom of Kabbalah, although they do not understand what they learn. Through the yearning and the great desire to understand what they are learning, they awaken upon themselves the light that surrounds their soul. Let's hear the psalm. For Shalom, for Shimshal. Dear friends, before we end, we will read together Psalms 150. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord in His sanctity. Praise Him in His mighty heavens. Praise Him in His acts of power. Praise Him for His surpassing greatness. Praise Him for sounding of the trumpet. Praise Him for the harp and lyre. Praise Him with the timbrel and dancing. Praise Him with strings and pipes. Praise Him with clash of cymbals. Praise Him with resounding cymbals. Let everything that has breath praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Thank you very much to PT24, and we'll move to the next part of the lesson. We're going to study now from a study of 10's lesson with Rabash. We're going to read from the study of Volume 2, Part 5, in the Inner Light, item 47. Starting with the second phase is simple, and it's called. We're going to read first, in the same page, the words of the in, item 47. The second phase is simple, since now it returned to being Matia in Keter. At that time it is not Matia in Biner, and Matia in, not Matia in, and Matia in, and not Matia in Hod, and in not my in. It repeats as in the beginning. Let's enter the lesson with Rush. So phase 2, in the vessel of Keter, connected with phase 3 of clothing from her, the degree of the light, for the vessel, that's why, by the association of phase 2, the club of clothing remained in the vessel of, so gradually, she helps a degree that came out on phase 2 of coarseness in the vessel of the Ket of Sag to help her that she won't be considered the phase of that, because in phase 2 of the Ket there's an incorporation from phase 3 of clothing, but in Benaf, Tams, a coupling, the base coupling of phase 2 of zone In phase 2, we have to start from what begins with the zone of the vessel of Biner. The zone of the vessel of Biner. Until here we learn, there was the record of the vessel of Keter. From phase 3/2 and 3/2 they performed a coupling on the degree of the light that came out for the vessel. Afterwards, it refined also on phase 2 of the vessel of HMA and remained phase 1. The degree that came out on phase 1 also remained in the vessel of HMA. He says that in phase 3, the vessel of Keter, called male, is the degree of the male that came out to the vessel of phase 2. Of course, this is part of the degree that descended to the vessel of. So he says, even though we learn that there was the coupling in the vessel of on the degree of phase 2 for Biner, called birth, Lord, but here it remains in G. Once because here it came from phase 3 of clothing, that there wasn't only phase 2 of clothing, also phase 2 of coarseness, descended downward, since the vessel of remained the record of phase 2 of clothing that was in there. It helps her sustain the record to sustain phase 2 that was in goal. This excuse when he says that the record in the vessel of there's a record of Biner, does it help anything? So why doesn't it do the same in the vessel of that there isn't what remains from Gala? But if I say that there was phase 2 incorporated and 3, by that excuse that it's just the same. So what's the difference between 2 incorporated and 3? That's the reason, not the second reason. So I'll repeat again the line that starts with, and it is called phase 3 of clothing because of the posterior light of in the that control it so as to give only vac only mercy. Hence its progeny that in the of the vessel of is regarded as back to like him. Why? Since he comes in the vessel of that has no posterior, so it needs and doesn't illuminate. That's why it's called vac. That's how we need to explain it. So what does he say here? Since he comes in the vessel of that has no posterior. What does that mean? Hence its progeny is regarded as vac to like him. Why? Since he comes in the vessel of that has no posterior. He needs, but he does not have it. Just as we learn in this says, while it was expanding in, then gives an illumination on its own too, and still gives 7 lights. So he explained what does it mean on its own, that it refined from 3 of clothing to 2 of clothing and becomes a coupling on the 2-bit, and the degree of bet was given to be not, but the coupling in the upper one that gives to the lower one is called vac of the degree. Hen, Biner received the vac of the degree, and calls it vac of the male. What is the male? Not a clothing. This coarseness, it's called male on sake of the light, so there's also a female there. Worse, the name of the female, the discernment of Gal. Which? Discernment of Gal. Gal phase 2. Why is it called a female? Because it's only the record. That's why he writes that phase 2 since it was a go. But the male is vac that there is an advantage, that there's one in this, but it's not in. That's why it's called a male on. The name of the light, but the phase of vac because it was born from the upper one. The second record is because it was go. It's not called female because it has no light like the male did. Afterwards, we learn that the vessel of refined from 2 to 1 gave to phase 1 called the 7 sons to the vessel of Biner. Now let's move to what's with us in Ag, meaning there was the vessel of, and here I cannot say that 3 was refined like in, which was refined in a vessel of 3, and became 2. Now I have 2 twos. Why I cannot say since he says there, that also the judgment that dalda, for that is in the vessel of cannot be refined prior to phase 3 being refined. Why? Since phase 4 of course, this is in on the whole degree on the whole level. So the coarseness, that is, in 4 that extends to 3. Hence you cannot refine 4 of clothing prior to refining phase 3 of coarseness. Accordingly, we must say that in which is phase 3 of clothing, there's no phase 3 of coarseness in the whole degree. Also, phase 3 of clothing cannot be refined until phase 2 of coarseness of is refined. Hence we say a coupling was made in the vessel of Keter upon far level 2, and it was phase 3 of 2 here just like in the vessel of Keter. This level moved to the vessel of and in it 2 we discern the male that comes from V. That's phase 3 of clothing, and 2 that comes from phase 2 of coarseness. Even though I should say that they are vac, Nevertheless, I say here, what am I saying? It's hard for me. What does he want to say? That there's G. So let there be G. So the question is if there I say vac of male. To of course this female there should be more or less from this. This we will see later. What's face to a female vac or? He doesn't say anything. The vac is written in explained as vac, and on the level that emerges called vac. And here he does not scrutinize like vac. Vac of male, vac of female. The name vac of male is in general the level of light, called vac of male, and the light that is called male is vac, because it comes due to the progenitors. The whereas if I say vac it's also, with us called vac only, that the two, just like it's called to meaning also, and v just like that here too he wants to say that they're just beener, but also, the level of gal like it will be in the plea of Keter. He says that this benefited her to remain, and to remain an offspring. She won't be an offspring. That's let's put it this way. She won't be an offspring. Why? It's very hard for me. Why? Don't I say that phase 2 of clothing will help of the clee to remain in the state of being a progen, of being generated? Why am I saying this? There I'm saying, vac there was a coupling on phase 2 of coarseness, and here on phase 2 of coarse. So when I say that the level of vac when I say that it's phase 2 of clothing that remains in her to be gone, it will help her rem be in the remain in the beener and not be called. I wanted to answer here because of the phase 2 of coarseness. There's phase 3 of clothing. If so, now you can't say that it helps. If it helps, then why didn't it emerge there? You could say that here you have 3 twos, so therefore this will not answer. This will help the answer here because it helps too. But you can say this as a chapter in this. You see, it doesn't help. What helps from all the force of 3-2 that he didn't answer? He doesn't answer. Dear friends, a few updates. So, tomorrow we're starting a new stage in our studies. We're going to start studying the preface. We had a deep survey in the whole world, and it turns out that most friends would prefer in the second part of test to study more from lessons with. So, from tomorrow we're going to start a new pilot. We're going to study preface from the lessons that Rav gave in 2001. It'll be along with hosts and workshops, questions and answers, and also a long part from those lessons. Teaches the upper world. They're a full breakdown based on the preface, and we will receive the light in any form we can. So we're not going to give up on test by, but every so often we're going to have it in. Soon in Thish part we're going to go to the next part 6 now about the 10th congression. So let's start with the web page. Convention. Thanks to their friends, we filled it with abundance, along with the schedule and the study material, and songs and chords. We also added sources about preparation for meals, the importance of the 10s that are, and also 50 special clips of love that were in meals in the last year. Very special clips that we gathered, and the peak is that we prepared ready lineups to help pens that Soul couldn't organize in time. So, for instance, you can find a lineup, the greatness of our teachers' lineups for meals and so on. You also find like structures for lineups, an empty document, but with a cat in that you can add your content for people who still need that help. So it's all on the website. Last thing, we want to make this Congress unique. Every 10 concentrates on its own inner work, building its own connection, its own preparation. So in this Congress, we're not mixing between 10s. We're not going to have activities combined, not a meal or a together. It's not because of distance, but the purpose is to make air work precise inside each tent. It's a 10s Congress. That's the importance and the uniqueness of it. So, good luck to us all. Dear friends, in the first part of the lesson, we learn lesson with from May 31st, 2002. Based on the article, what does it mean that one should bear a son and a daughter in the work? You can find the article in the writings of Rabash Volume 2. We'll read it together in the 10. We have 33 minutes, please. What does it mean that one should bear a son and a daughter in the work? It is written in the Zohar, this is why he created them male and female, so he would be whole such as above, and a son and a daughter came out of him, and his wife, and then he is a whole man, such as above, and completes below like the upper holy name. This is because why are above and Romans 6 are son and daughter. At that time, he was called by the name of the upper holy name. A man who does not wish to complete the holy name below, meaning to bear a son and a daughter, it would be better for him that he were not born, for he has no part at all in the holy name, and we should understand what it implies to us in the work that, if he does not have a son and a daughter, is better for him not to be born. It is known that we should discern two things in the world. One, the purpose of creation, which is to do good to his creations, meaning for the creatures to receive the light and pleasure. This is why he created in the creatures in nature where they have a desire and yearning to receive delight and pleasure. And if the creatures receive from him delight and pleasure, this brings contentment to the Creator that they are doing his will and are enjoying him, to the correction of creation, in order for creatures not to feel shame in receiving the pleasures. The creatures must receive the pleasures only in order to delight the Creator and not for their own sake. This means that the reason they want to enjoy life is that the Creator wants it, while for themselves they would relinquish the pleasure, since they want to adhere to the Creator.